All right, lesson 4.3. We are going to start working on our linear equations, which is y equals an mx plus b format. And that is actually called slope-intercept form. So if you look here, this should be something that we are very familiar with from last year. Do you remember what the m and b represent in this equation? So again, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Do you know what the m and the b mean? What they stand for? So since it's called slope-intercept form, the m and the b actually stand for the slope of the line, and intercept is talking about the y-intercept. Now let's break this down a little bit further, okay? Slope, since you're now a slope expert, that we just got through doing all that, kind of remind yourself about what all the things are that we talked about. So if you want to do like rise over run, right? Remember that it's a fraction or a whole number. We need to remember that it repeats. We talked about this when we were doing our word problems for our equations. It's something that goes over and over and over again. So it goes up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, over and over and over again, right? Whereas your y-intercept, so intercept means that two things come together, right? An interception is something where they cross over and they take the ball in football, right? So same thing in math in some respects. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. That's why it's called the y-intercept. So this is an exact point. Okay, and by point I mean like an XY coordinate, right? It's also where where this one repeats. The B or the y-intercept only happens one time, right? So this is where you're going to start from. It's the starting amount, like we talked about in our word problems. So only happens one time. It's where you start from and where the line continues through that y-axis, okay? So M is slope, super important. B is your y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, okay? So again, this should be a complete review. You guys had this last year. What we're going to work on throughout this lesson is how do we find the y-intercept in the slope from a graph and write an equation for it? And then how do I take information and write an equation with slope and intercept? So you're always going to need two things to write your equation, okay? Always, always, always going to need two things. So for this part, you always have to have the m and the b, the slope and the y-intercept, to write an equation in slope-intercept form, okay? So have to have those two things, all right? So what we're going to work on first real quickly is just the easy peasy one. If I give you the slope and the y-intercept, can you plug them into the equation where they go and write me a slope-intercept form equation with those two things? So again, slope is your m, y-intercept is your b. So we're simply going to plug them in here to these two spots and write a new equation. Okay, so y equals m. Well, my m is 2, so I'm going to have a 2. X stays the same. It always will. Plus, because this is a positive down here, and my b is 3, so plus 3. I simply put these two numbers into their spots in the equation. Everything else stays the same. I didn't change the y, I didn't change the x. You're just plugging in for m and b. And there's your slope-intercept equation. Okay, so same thing here. M is -3, b is -10. So where the m is, I'm going to put -3. X stays the same. Now, I know that b is -10, so I'm not going to put plus -10. I'm just going to put -10 or -10. Here's my m, here's my b. This is my new equation. Okay? So let's try that down here. Same exact thing. Pause the video. If you want to try it, if you want to follow along, that's fine too. Okay? There's a couple of trickier ones on here. So again, slope is always m, y-intercept is always b. Here we go. Y equals m, which is 4. X stays the same. B is negative, so -6. And there's my answer. Just plugging it in. We're not doing anything else just yet. Again, here's m, here's b, so y equals m, which is -8. X stays the same, plus 1 because it's a positive 1. There's your answer, a slope-intercept form equation. The next one. Again, slope is m, y-intercept is b, so y equals -1/5 x. Now, this says 0, so if I put plus 0, does that look right? No, we don't ever put plus 0 as the intercept. If you'll remember back to our other problems that we were doing yesterday, this was gone, right? So when you write these and you have 0 for your intercept, they're not going to tell you that it's 0. You just know if nothing is over here, that it is 0 when you go to graph it. So there's your answer. Now look at the next one. M, which is your slope, is 0. Now think about that. M, your slope, is 0. What did we have for our slope that had 0 slope? What did that look like? Do you remember the driveway? How the driveway has 0 slope, then it's flat, like this. And if it's flat, it was special. So when it's flat and it's special, it's a Hoy. Do you remember this, you guys? The Hoy-Vuck stuff? Hoy is horizontal, 0 slope, a y equals equation with a y-intercept, right? So if you're writing this down, you're thinking normal, y equals 0x, and then -2 for the b. Okay, do we ever see this 0x? No. So you don't put that down. You're never going to see it. If you cross that out, the only thing that's left is y equals -2. There's your Hoy. Okay? So you're never going to see them put 0x. So don't get in the habit of writing that down. You can start off with that and then realize that, oh, I don't need it. So I'm just going to cancel it out. Okay? All right, look at the next one. M is undefined. Okay, again, here we go. M is undefined. The slope is undefined. Remember, if the slope is undefined, it looks like this. It's a vertical line. It has undefined slope, and it's an x equals equation. So it doesn't cross through the y-axis. That's why it says there's no y-intercept. It's straight up and down. So if it's an x equals equation, the only number we care about is the x-intercept, which is 5. And there's your equation. So obviously, the Hoy-Vuck ones are very special, which is why we talked about those separately. Okay? All right. Next problem. Here's our first one, writing an equation from a graph. So we're trying to figure out what M and B are, because those are the two things we're always going to need. M is my slope. This is what we've been working on the past couple of days. I'm going to start at the top, go to the bottom, down and right. Down means I'm negative slope. So I know that this guy right here is going to have a negative number in front of it, right? So I have to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So negative 6 over 1, 2, 3. Okay, again, it has to be simplified. So negative 6 over 3 is negative 2, right? The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So you're looking for where does this line cross over the y-axis? Well, it's right here at this point, 0, 4, or 4 in this case is what we want. The y value is what we want. Okay, so here's my m, here's my b, and I'm going to write my equation. Negative 2x plus 4, m and b, just like we had in the other problems. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Same exact thing. M and B is what we need to start. So slope has to go up and right. Up 1, 2, 3. So 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can't be simplified, so there's my slope. My y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So where this line crosses this axis is right here on the y-axis itself, right? So for this one, it's at 0, negative 6. So here's my m. We only need this part of our intercept, right? The y value. So here it is. Y equals m, which is 3/5. X stays, and then it's negative, so minus 6. M and B plugged in to find the equation. Okay, your turn. I want you to pause the video, see if you can get these two by yourself, and then check your answers. Okay, so I'm going to go down and right. 1, 2. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is negative 2 over 4, which simplifies to negative 1 over 2. My y-intercept crosses right here, which is down 2. So 0, negative 2. Here's my m, here's my b. My equation is y equals mx minus 2 for b, because it's negative. Okay, hopefully you're feeling okay about that. Here's the next one. My slope goes up and right. Okay, lots of counting here. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And it's going up, so it's positive. 12 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 12 over 6 simplifies to 2. Okay, my y-intercept is right here, which is at 9. So 0, 9. Here's my m, here's my b. So y equals m x plus b. Okay. All right, so that's it for the graphs. Now we're going to kind of reverse it on the back side and we are going to actually pull out the slope and the intercept from the equation. Okay? So for here, we've got what is m and what is b. mx plus b. So my slope is -3 and my b is 9. My y-intercept is 9. For this one, m equals 2/5 mx plus b. My b is 4. Down here, m equals 8, b equals 6. mx plus b. Okay? Now, this one is telling me my m is 5, but if I were to put plus something out here, there's nothing there. So it would be 0. My y-intercept is at 0, 0 on the origin. Okay? Now, notice the last two. Here's our special ones. These two are going to be the Hooy-Bucks. So when you look at this one, y equals, there isn't a slope. There's no number. Y equals mx plus b. There's not even an x listed there, which means that it was 0 x's because they didn't put it down. So my slope here, or my m, is actually 0. The b is -2. Okay? Then just like on our graphs, same thing here. If x equals 3, that means there wasn't a y to start with. So if I'm trying to get to y equals mx plus b, that would mean that we have an undefined slope. And my b, or my y-intercept, would be none. There wouldn't be one because it would be going vertical. All right? A little bit tricky, especially with these last two. The special kind are why they're special. They get a little bit difficult. Ask questions in class and make sure you're doing all of your homework to practice. These will be the two that seem the easiest, but definitely the two that will cause the most trouble.